Hello everyone, it's Red Gadget here, and today we have another video. So today we're doing a continuation somewhat of the last video I made, which was the statistics of the win rates per card based on the opening hand. And in that video I mentioned how Ryza turned out to be in our top 30. So we have actually had Ryza the Storm Monarch be like, what was it, B tier or something like that, and yeah, and it was pretty interesting to see that Ryza was there, but Caius was not. So I was wondering, okay, what would be the win rates of all the Monarchs, and could we draw some conclusions based on that? Is this just like a thing that, like, for example, Ryza is very good to open, but then Caius might be better late game or something similar, right? Maybe some other Monarchs are better, right? There's plenty. So yeah, I had this idea, and then I thought to myself, well, maybe I can just kind of look at the Frog games. So look at all the Frog games I have in my database and then extract. So basically extract all the times a Monarch was summoned. And then if the person won that game, I kind of contribute that Monarch for that turn, and I calculate win rates across all the games, right? So win rates kind of across all games based on the Monarch and the turn that Monarch was summoned. So then I could probably see like a trajectory of, okay, maybe Ryza is like really good early game, and then it tapers off and it starts to be better, starts to be worse late game, while Caius, for example, might be better. So that was the general idea, and yeah, we had we had million matches. So he had first 900,000, but then I added a bit more to kind of round it up to a million matches. And then yes, we only consider Frog games where, like, well, Frog games, but also the player that's playing Frogs. So even if both players play Frogs, it's still fine. We consider both. And if just one player is playing Frogs, we just take the summons of the Monarchs of that player for those turns. And if no one's playing Monarchs, we just skip that game, right? Frog Monarchs, or just Frogs in general. So the criteria is actually, if they're playing Frogs, is just that if we have seen Treeborn, Sub, Dupe, or Swap. So any of these four being in the game, and the same game as the Monarch was summoned, that will be considered kind of a Frog Monarch deck, let's say, or it can be a Frog hero as well. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, with that being said, we should get into the thing that I basically created, which was this graph. Now this is the following graph where again at the bottom I explained kind of that we had 500,000 games basically out of these million, so million matches. But if you say times 2.5, right, because you play multiple games, so either 2 games or 3 games in the end, and then out of those, what, 2.5 million, let's say, 500,000 were like the games that had Monarchs and Frogs. We create this graph. As you can see, there's this oscillation. So there's this kind of turn 1 is where we have, so these are odd turns, right? So we have 1, 3, 5, 7 where there's a dip. And that is because this player is going second, right? We count the first turn as turn 0, which is not shown on the graph because no one's summoning a Monarch on turn 0. The sample size for the turn 0 was just extremely low, so it was just variance, so I decided to remove it. But yeah, we have turn 0, then we have turn 1, 2, 3, so all the even turns, so 2, 4, 6, 8, etc., are the turns where the player is basically who went first is playing, and the turn that's odd is the turn where the player who is going second is playing. So these turns have a lot lower win rate. So then I decided to make the following graph where I just plotted it as such, and it's very easy to see. Now, what the data shows is this. I mean, you could see it for yourself, but we can see that Ryza is actually forgoing first. For example, Ryza, he seems to be the best here, then he dips below Thestalos, and then he stays on top again after. Then you have Thestalos in between, who goes above Ryza on turn 8, and then tapers off and becomes worse than Caius at turn 14. By the way, the mean turn of a game, including both players, on average is around between 9 and 10. So this is kind of the early game, this is the mid game, and this should be the late game. So 12, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I decided to not include turns after because it's just not that many. And also the 0 turn is not really useful. But yeah, so here you could see on the bottom, for example, for going second, we have Ryza staying on top consistently, and then Testalos being here. And then we have Caius at the bottom. We just, at turn 13, become slightly higher than Testalos. So yeah, I would like to discuss this now. It's a very interesting kind of thing we have. And there's multiple reasons why this could be the case. For me, I always had a feeling that hand control and hand manipulation is one of the best mechanics in the game. So, and usually when players play the game, if you think about it yourself, you often keep your strongest cards in your hand. Like your bombs are usually there to kind of deal with the opponent's board, or just go for a huge push, right? So if you have like a Dark Armed, it's a card that stays in hand until you win, basically. If you have, for example, Chaos Sorcerer, if you have like a Whirlwind Sirocco that's waiting to be like used when the opponent has a big monster. Brain Controls, these are all really, really good cards you keep in hand, such that you can kind of, such that you can overpower your opponent when they are kind of in the winning spot. Now, if you randomly knock out one of those cards with Testalos, for example, that could be really strong. It also changes the whole game plan of the game, right? Because if you have 3 cards, you might have some combo, like, for example, Heavy Storm plus something. And if you knock out that Heavy Storm, then the whole turn changes, right? And the plan that they were kind of trying to build towards doesn't really work anymore. Ryza, to me, makes sense. He's stronger because he basically ensures that the opponent has a card in hand that you sometimes know. So if it was a face-up card you top-decked, you skip their turn, and if that card was already not being able to deal with like a Monarch, then next turn when they draw it, it's going to be bad into the already established Monarch, right? So if they have like, I don't know, like Flameville Fire Dog, and then you top deck the Fire Dog, then they draw it next turn, like they cannot really beat over unless they have something else, right? And I think this top deck mechanic is extremely, extremely strong in Yu-Gi-Oh! But however, I'm still not sold on Caius being the worst. It does feel pretty weird for that to be the case. Now, banishing cards is strong. Ending the game with a like 1000 burn is really strong. But removing threats is really important. And if the opponent has like an established threat, for example, like a card that you don't want to top deck, for example, like a Whirlwind, or I don't know, it can be many cards like Dark Arm Dragon you don't want to top deck, their their Judgment Dragon you don't want to top deck. A lot of these end board pieces you really don't want to top deck, but I feel, and it's the same logic with Raigeki Break and Phoenix Wing Blast, right? I might even do a study on that afterwards, but yeah, across all games, across all terms, this seems to be the data, and I think in majority of the situations, you're not really getting rid of these threats as much as you're just like removing cards and making sure to kind of simplify the board so you can do your own push. And in these situations, I do feel Ryza is better. So this is just my personal feeling, and I think removing a card plus a top deck is more influential to the kind of to the way the game progresses than just a simple removal. Because if you think about it, like they might have a card like, I don't know, let's say Fire Dog, and you might suspect they have Book of Moon or something, just for the argument's sake. You might like want to basically Caius the Fire Dog so that the Book of Moon is dead. But the thing is, if you Caius the Fire Dog, they could have like a million other top decks that you had no idea about. So kind of in terms of our brain and understanding, like I think if you Caius something, you think, okay, this was a threat, now it's not a threat, that is good. And our brain just kind of thinks that we kind of solved an issue, right? And if we top deck it, our brain says, okay, it's still a problem, so I wish this was banished. But we cannot really comprehend what the opponent is top decking, and we don't even know, right? We don't even know what they're top decking. And sometimes it's just better to top deck like a mid card they have than to let them draw into another bomb, because chances are they probably will. If they already top decked, went through a certain portion of their engine, they might start drawing bombs. Like in the case of frogs, this is often their game plan. So if you top deck like a dupe frog or something, like it's a lot better than like banishing the dupe frog and then letting them draw their own monarch or draw their own miracle fusion or something. So in that case, I think kind of hand control is a lot stronger in general. And this is just my feeling. Now, I've talked to many good players about this particular chart, and yeah, people are not sold. I'm also not 100% sold, because this should not, like, intuitively doesn't make much sense. But I just had a feeling that hand control is a lot stronger than removing threats on the board in the majority of cases. Now, sometimes it's like really sucks to have a Ryza when you need a Caius. But I think if you take on average, like a bunch of turns and a bunch of games, I think these patterns show up for a reason. Now, this also could be the case because people usually play Caius the most. So there might be some implicit issues with the statistics. But I don't know if I buy that fully, because we have this turn 1, 2, and 3, where Ryza is better, for example. And if you play 3 Caius, like, and 1 Ryza, for example, then the fact you have played 3 Caius, if you open the Ryza, it doesn't matter that you play other 3 Caius in your deck, because on average, like, since we have 500,000 games of just Monarchs being summoned, I think that should have an influence on the final data. Like, I don't think we have sample issues, like issues with the size of the number of games or the size of the number of Monarchs summoned. So I don't know if just playing 3 Caius and 1 Ryza, or just the other Monarchs being played in smaller ratios, I don't know if that's a big big problem data wise. But that's also on you to consider. I mean, I just showed the data, and I show you what the conclusion is from in terms of this graph. Now, I think finally, like, to just summarize, I think it's just best to test multiple things. And yeah, one of the better players just said, yeah, it would be funny if Ryza is actually the best, but at the end it's just on people to test. So I think that yeah, I think if I was playing frogs and monarchs, I think I would definitely try out like higher ratios of these other twos, just to see. And I would also try to not kind of fall into my own biases of, because Caius does feel better, like in general he does feel better, but I'm not sure if he's more impactful, if that makes sense. Yeah. With that being said, let's go. This is another graph, so this is just grouped by turns. And yeah, it's something if you want to take a look. There's this dip on turn 3 and 4, and we have this pretty clear kind of separation of win rates based on 2 turns grouped. Because again, one was like going second and one was going first. So if you take the average of the 2, then I just plot them here, right? So yeah, Tesla keeps falling. Turn 11, 12, 13, 14, he seems to be kind of, I guess, not as strong. But Ryza seems to dominate early and late game. And yeah, so this was just the tabular format of in general. Like, this is just the average win rate for even turns, odd turns, and for both. So we see Ryza is 66. If you're going first, it's like 73. And if you're going second, it's let's say around 60, yeah. And then we have 57 and 55 for Caius. And then this is a sample size. Now, of course, everyone plays Caius, so this is the number of basically instance, like summons, let's say, of Caius. This is the number of summons of Ryza, and this is the number of summons of Testos. So these are huge numbers. Like, I don't think we have an issue, even though, yes, this like not proportionate in terms of like the magnitude of these numbers. There is still like there's still a sufficiently enough large sample for Testalos to draw a conclusion, right? It's not like we have 50 or 100 samples. It's like, what is this, 22,000. So yeah, now you could make all kinds of arguments about why this is the way it is. Personally, I mean, I don't want to draw any conclusions for myself right now and for you, but to me, I had a feeling that this could be the case. And yeah, I did the study. This is what came out, and I just came here to show you. And with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video, and let me know in the comment section what you think and what are some of your interpretations of this data. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.